Paula from Chic Emporium, and it's time to do another video for you guys. I've got this gorgeous dresser that we have found, and we have stripped back the top here because we're going to stain that with a dark wax, which I think will look really lovely. I've got a country theme going on. I found these images on the Graphic Fairy, which is a great site to use, lots of royalty-free images. And I'm hoping to do some image transfer. Chicken's going to go there, and a cow and a sheep there. And then I'm going to, I haven't decided yet, but along there I thought I might use these stamps from IOD to put Farmhouse, but I've also got an IOD transfer coming, which is a big sign, and that might look better. So when that arrives, I'll have to decide whether I'm going to use that or the transfer. I'm going to use Annabelle Duke, Church Candle and Sweet Peanut, the main bit being Church Candle, which is a nice light cream, and then a sort of beige in the back insets. So obviously the first bit that we've got to do is lots of paint on, which is all boring to watch, and that's going to take some while. So we're going to crack on and get that done, and then I'll come back once we get to the decorative stuff. See you in a bit. Well, Noodle's keeping shop today. He's been a bit of a tinker out there with a bone that he's got, and he keeps tossing it around everywhere, so we've locked him out and he's not happy. But here we are. As you can see, I've got most of the paint on. I need to do a bit more. I need to do the edges on here and so on. But what I thought I'd do for you guys is show you the image transfer bit, because this bit needs to take as long as possible to dry. Now, as I said before, I printed these off from the Graphics Fairy. I've printed them off on a normal inkjet printer several days ago now, but usually as long as you do it the day before, it's fine. So I'm using finishing cream, and my rule of thumb is kind of 3 layers. So I do one layer of getting the picture wet, and basically it's just starting to loosen up the ink. Noodle. And then, where I want it to go, I put quite a liberal coating as well. I'm getting it nice and wet. Okay. And then, the third coat, I go back to my image and go over it again, so that it's all lovely and wet. There we go. So then it's about turning the image over and committing to where you want to put it. So there, and I'm just pressing it down, oozing out the finishing cream. Now this has got to really dry for the ink to transfer to your furniture. So I'm going to go ahead. As you can see, I've got 2 other images here. They're quite large, and these ones are quite black as a whole, and I don't know if it's going to make a big mess when I try and get it off. So we will see. I might have to come up with a plan B. But I'm going to stick those on, and then I'm going to carry on and just tidy up the corners and so on, and then I'll come back and I'll show you how I get this lot off. So I'll see you then. Right, so I've done quite a lot since I've last seen you. I've gone in at it with some sandpaper just to pull up the edges. I always go around the corners of the doors, I think, because that's the worn area, but it always pulls a piece together. I've sanded back some of the hinges. That looks pretty cool. Now what happens with this piece, what happens with a lot of the pine units is bleeding comes through as soon as you start messing around with finishing creams. So this area here in particular was a bit patchy. So I'm just going to show you very quickly what I've done. I could have treated it, but it wasn't that bad. So this is dry brushing. This is a very dry brush. I've dipped it in the paint. I'm getting rid of all excess. And then I'm hardly anything on this brush. It will probably be quite hard to see. But basically, I'm breaking up the solid colour so that where there's a little bit of patchiness, it doesn't really matter, because it just looks like it was meant to be. So I've gone over the piece doing that, and I just wanted to show you how I did that. So that's the dry brushing. So we're now on to the image transfer. I've just got to show you what my dog's doing. What are you doing? I love it. Good play. Anyway, right, this is my image transfer. I've dried it. The patch that you can see is the finishing cream. That's all right. We're going to deal with that afterwards. So now this is just a normal pot of water. Nothing special. And I'm going to start wetting the paper. And basically what we're going to be doing is rubbing off the back of the paper. Now I don't know how well this is going to work. We can sort of start to see the image revealing itself, but this image is quite black. It's got a lot of black in it, and I don't know if once it all gets wet the black's going to start smudging a lot, and I might have to rescue it with some fine art paintbrush work, so we'll see. I'm more worried about the cow and the sheep below because they were a lot darker, but if you don't try these things you don't know, do you? Yeah. I'm just going to let you watch me reveal this image. Most of it off. You can still see the outline here, and I'm not going to rub and rub and rub. I perhaps could and get a bit more off. And what you will also see, I hope, from the camera is that it's a bit cloudy still. It's not full pop, but when I coat it with finishing cream it will bring the colour back. So I'm gonna, obviously there's a few little bits that I'm gonna keep rubbing a bit, but what I'm going to do to get rid of this edge is go back in with my original colour to just paint it out, and it will blend. And I'm not going to try and do it perfectly because I think that the broken edge makes it look more realistic. So I'm literally just dabbing it on. So that's how I'm going to make this. I could keep rubbing away, as I say, but you run the risk of then rubbing away big chunks of the picture, and I don't want to do that. So I'm just using the colour and a little brush to go in between. It really isn't very tricky. So I'll carry on and finish this one in exactly the same way that I'm showing you. Then I'll get some finishing cream on. Perhaps I'll show you doing that so you can see how it pops back out. So once I've gone round with my paintbrush, I'll show you the finishing cream. So I'll see you then. I just kind of want to show you the magic process, because if you look at the bottom, I've done the two at the bottom and they've just come out amazing. I'm so pleased with them. It didn't smudge at all, and they are finished and completed. So in comparison, those two, and look at that, so, and you wouldn't believe that that could turn into that, would you? I'm sure. So what I've got here is the original paint colour, then I've got finishing coat where I stuck the image on. Then I've got the image, and then I've got a bit of touch-up paint all around the edge, so it all looks a bit of a mess at the moment, plus it's all quite faded where there is still some back on, but it's about knowing when to stop, and at this stage I'm going to stop, and I'm just going to show you the magic of this finishing cream over all of it. Will bring all those layers back together and bring it back to life. Now it's not going to be popping perhaps quite as dark as the original image, but that's okay. I like it looking a bit vintagey. And if I'd have carried on rubbing, I'd run the risk of rubbing off the picture altogether, and I don't want to do that, so here we go. Look. You see, it's coming back out to play. And unlike when you put the water on and the water dries, it starts fading, when you put this on it doesn't fade anymore, so this is what you finish with. So if I want to, I'll have a look at it from a distance, see if I need to go back in with a paintbrush. But I have used a bit of the paintbrush in the block colours to just pick out the original colour as well, so that it wasn't white. But as a whole, if you can move back to the camera and look at it, looks great. Right, so now all my image transfer is doing. We've put the ceramic knobs on, I think you'll agree they look great. And I'm now on to the last bit, and I had thought about doing some stamping, but I also got this new IOD transfer in, and it comes in 2 parts, and this bit says dairy, and it doesn't naturally fit there, so we're going to cut it up and use bits in different ways to get it on. So once I've got a little bit further down the line of getting it on, I shall show you how it happens, but it's a bit of a 2-man job, 2 pairs of hands, so once I get to a bit that I can show you, I will. So I'll see you in a bit. So we've done the first bit at the top, and it was a bit fiddly just because we didn't really have gravity on our side. I could have laid it down, but I haven't. Now I've just cut out a little piece here out of the design. You take it off the backing. You need to make sure that it doesn't stick to each other, otherwise you've got problems, so make sure you keep backing on till the last minute. And I'm just going to place this bit centrally here. It's got some kind of staticness in it, so as you can see it's holding itself up. And then I use the stick that comes with it just to apply some pressure and rub it on. Really easy. And then once I've done that, I take one end and start peeling it back. Now that bit there hasn't completely stuck, so I've pushed it back down, and you can see where it's loose. You can keep rubbing away and slowly pulling the piece back. It's quite important that the paintwork that you've got is thoroughly dry before you start, otherwise, particularly if you're using chalk paint, it sticks to the back of the transfers and then becomes quite tricky. There you go. And then you can just push it down with your fingers, and it will be sealed with some finishing coat when we're done. So I'm just going to have a look at the piece, see if we need to put any more on or not, and then we'll come back and show you what it looks like. Right, so we're all done. We just finished a bit of trim now, and I just think it's enough. We don't need to do any more. So the last thing to do, and I've taken the plastic covering that we put on here, is for me, is I'm going to wax up this wood that we sanded down before we started. And I've chosen a dark wax. I've got Grace Mary because that's what I've got. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use a buffing rag and get it on, but obviously we've got to lift the whole thing off, give it a good wax, and give it a good buff, and then it will be done. And then I will come back and show you what the finished thing looks like. So I'll see you in a bit. Right, so at the end of a long day, a long few days, these dresses always take ages because it's the touching up around there that you have to go round and round and round, but it is worth the effort. I actually really like the image transfers. They've come out really well, and I tend to shy away from the bigger ones because they can be problematic, but these ones have come out great. I love the IOD transfer across the top, and just these little details, they just make it, alongside my lovely ceramics. A lovely country themed dresser inspired by my walk with the dog where I saw some lambs running in a field. So here we are, here we have it. Thanks for watching. I hope it was worth the wait, and see you next time.